Tonight, the changing of the guard in America.
I accept tonight the responsibility that you have given me to be the leader of this, the greatest country in human history.
Told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the shop.
William J. Clinton, also known as Bill Clinton, was president from 1993 to 2001. He was born in 1946 in Arkansas, and his occupation is a lawyer. He's part of the Democratic Party, and his vice president was Albert Gore Jr.
A school comes under siege.
And the school is in a panic. I've got students down under the table, kids under the table.
The Columbine High School Massacre was a school shooting which occurred on April 20th, 1999 at Columbine High School in Columbine. In addition to the shootings, the complex and highly planned attack involved a firebomb to divert firefighters, propane tanks converted into bombs placed in the cafeteria, 99 explosives, and bombs rigged in cars. 2 senior students, Eric Harris and Dylan Kelbold, murdered a total of 12 students and 1 teacher. They injured 24 additional students, with 3 other people being injured while attempting to escape the school. Then the pair committed suicide. This led to extensive new laws on gun control. Gun control was a major political issue for the first half of Clinton's term, in which he signed 2 major pieces of gun control, the Brady Bill and the Federal Assault Weapon Bill. The Brady Bill requires the background checks on all individuals before buying a firearm from a legal dealer. The Federal Assault Weapon Ban is a subsection of the Violent Crime Control, a Law Enforcement Act of 1994. The United States law restricted manufacturing and transferring of most semi-automatic firearms. The regulations only applied to firearms made after the law.
Our country slaps us in the face and orders us don't ask and orders us don't tell.
Long frowned upon in the U.S. military, gays and lesbians were finally given an inroads into legally serving their country with the don't ask, don't tell policy. A compromise of sorts between each side of the debate, it allowed homosexuals in the service, promitted they did not speak of their orientation.
It is right because it provides greater protection to those who happen to be homosexual and want to serve their country honorably in uniform.
In return, superiors were prohibited from questioning their sexuality. Problems remained, but this was a launching pad for change to come.
I am not asking anymore. I am telling. I am telling. I am telling. Will you tell with me?
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I pledged to end welfare as we know it. I have worked very hard for 4 years to do just that. Today, the Congress will vote on legislation that gives us a chance to live up to that promise. To transform a broken system that traps too many people in a cycle of dependence to one that emphasizes work and independence.
Richard Nixon promised total welfare reform, the transformation of a system frozen in failure. Jimmy Carter asked Congress to abolish our existing welfare system. Ronald Reagan called for real and lasting emancipation from welfare. Now comes Bill Clinton, who released a reform plan in Kansas City that is intended to redeem his promise to end welfare as we know it. Clinton signed a Republican welfare reform bill in 1996 despite his criticisms that portions of it, specifically cuts in the food stamps program and denial of benefits to undocumented immigrants, were too harsh. Most importantly, the bill set work requirements for most welfare recipients and limited the length of time that they could receive assistance to 5 years, making it a substantial change to the welfare system.
The President of the United States of America, William Jefferson Clinton.
Clinton came into office with little direct experience in foreign affairs. In his inaugural address, he laid out a vision in which America continued to lead the world and outlined the beginnings of a new foreign policy in a post-Cold War era. As a successor to the Cold War doctrine of containing the Soviet threat, Clinton's was a doctrine of enlargement, of strengthening and expanding the world community of market democracies, with intervention becoming a matter of choice.
My fellow Americans, today I want to talk with you about our nation's military involvement in Somalia. A year ago, we all watched with horror as Somali children and their families lay dying by the tens of thousands, dying the slow, agonizing death of starvation. A starvation brought on not only by drought, but also by the anarchy that then prevailed in that country.
An intervention in Somalia, initiated by Clinton's predecessor, President George H.W. Bush, was intended to provide short-term security for humanitarian relief following civil war and famine there. The conflict escalated after the mission was turned over to the United Nations peacekeeping forces. After a battle in which 18 U.S. soldiers were killed and 84 wounded, the bodies of American soldiers were desecrated by Somalis. Clinton ultimately was forced to withdraw the U.S. troops. With the unsuccessful intervention in Somalia providing a strong cautionary example, Clinton and the UN decided not to intervene in another African civil war in Rwanda, during which hundreds of thousands were massacred. The horrific events led Clinton to regret this decision and counted among the worst of his presidency. Civil and ethnic conflict in the Balkan Peninsula was escalating to genocide, as Bosnian Serbs slaughtered Muslim men, women, and children in their own country. Reluctant to intervene at first, Clinton finally acted after international appeals for the U.S. to take a leadership role, and with the media projecting new images of the atrocities daily, Clinton set up a NATO response plan, which was quickly triggered by the Serbian attack. NATO missions brought an end to fighting, and within several months Clinton presided over the Dayton Peace Accords, establishing himself as a competent and credible world leader. Clinton advocated strongly for international trade agreements that would open markets for U.S. exports. In addition to NAFTA, he pushed through the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, establishing in 1995 the World Trade Organization, an international group of members states responsible for monitoring trade rules among nations. By extending normal trade status to China in 2000, Clinton supported its admission to the WTO. He also lifted Vietnamese trade embargoes, laying the groundwork for a new era of cooperation with Vietnam. International terrorism was also escalating during Clinton's presidency. A deadly truck bombing outside a military housing complex in Saudi Arabia in 1996, devastating explosions targeting the U.S. embassies in Tanzania and Kenya in 1998, and a suicide attack on the USS Cole in Yemen in 2000 were all linked to al-Qaeda and its leader, Osama bin Laden. In response to the U.S. embassy bombings, Clinton ordered missile strikes on an al-Qaeda affiliate in Sudan and on training camps in Afghanistan, despite knowing that his response would likely provoke accusations that he was deflecting attention from the ongoing scandal involving his extramarital affair with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. The strikes missed their target, but Clinton maintained that he had made the right decision in the interest of U.S. national security.
President Clinton had his fair share of embarrassments. Long dogged by allegations of infidelity, his reputation took a hit when his affair with White House intern Monica Lewinsky became public in 1998.
These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people.
Clinton strongly denied the allegations, but mounting evidence led him to finally concede his involvement.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong.
Monica Lewinsky was born in 1973 in San Francisco, California, and grew up in LA in an affluent family. With the assistance of a family connection, Lewinsky acquired an unpaid internship at the White House. Lewinsky then moved to Washington, D.C. and took a paid position in the White House Office of Legislative Affairs in December of 1995. The news of the Lewinsky affair broke out in 1998, and Clinton stated that he did not have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. Between November 1995 and March 1997, Clinton and Miss Lewinsky had 9 sexual encounters, but according to Lewinsky and Clinton, never had intercourse.
He popped on my buttons and he ripped my blouse. He Monica Lewinsky all
To this day, Monica Lewinsky is still a known name. Beyoncé's new song, Partition, released in 2014, said, "He popped all my buttons and ripped my blouse. He Monica Lewinsky'd all over my blouse." Kid Cudi's song, Erase Me, says Monica Lewinsky in the dress, "Now you have to take her to the cleaners." She will forever be remembered as the woman who got Bill Clinton impeached.
A rock, a river, a tree, hosts to species long since departed, marked the mastodon, the dinosaur, who left dry tokens of their sojourn here.
Maya Angelou was born in April 4th, 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri, and recently died in 2014 on the 28th of May. Maya moved around the world teaching drama and music in places like Ghana and Egypt. Shortly after her arrival in the United States, Malcolm X was assassinated. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. asked Angelou to serve as the Northern Coordinator for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. In the 70s, Maya worked on a book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, which instantly became a success. Maya continued on to write more than 30 best-selling titles. In 1996, she directed her first feature film, Down in the Delta, and composed the poetry for the award-winning documentary, The Black Candle. Maya then served on 2 presidential committees and was awarded the Medal of Arts in 2000, the Lincoln Medal in 2008, and 3 Grammy Awards. Maya Angelou's poem at Bill Clinton's inaugural speech was given extreme praise. She was the first female and Black inaugural poet. She said the poem was meant to be both inspirational and realistic, and to touch upon some of the United States' dark past and hopes for a better future. In her life, she had received 50 honorary degrees, and her words and actions continue to stir our souls and heal our
People
hearts.
are going to the freeway, parking their cars, and waving at OJ, we're told, as they drive by.
Americans were glued to their TV sets when football star O.J. Simpson went to trial for the murder of ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman.
If there is any doubt in anybody's mind about this person not committing this crime, I mean, then they have a real problem with reality.
Cameras provided a constant view of the courtroom, making celebrities out of everyone involved. DNA issues and questions of racism eventually led to a not guilty verdict.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187.
However, public opinion of his innocence widely varied with race and showed a racial divide still alive in 90s America.
When the verdict came, America stopped to watch, and the result split the
O.J.
nation.
Simpson was a former NFL superstar accused of murdering his ex-wife Nicole Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman. After the murder took place, O.J. Simpson hopped into his car and drove along an LA highway, being chased by cops. Families all over the United States watched for over 2 hours as O.J. Simpson was followed by police before he surrendered by returning back to his home. O.J. was not convicted of the murders of both Nicole Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman, but was later sued by both of the families for about $33.5 million in damages. Tanya Maxine Harding, born November 12, 1970, is an American figure skating championship and a 2-time Olympian and 2-time skate American champion. In 1994, she won the U.S. Figure Skating Championships and placed second in the World Championships. She was the second woman and the first American woman to compete a triple axel jump in competition. Harding became notorious in a conjunction with January 6, 1994, an attack on her competitor, Nancy Kerrigan. The widely publicized attack took place after a practice session at the 1994 U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Detroit. Harding's ex-husband, Jeff Gilley, and her bodyguard, Sean Eckert, hired Shane Stant to break Kerrigan's right leg so that she would be unable to skate. After failing to find Kerrigan at the training rink in Massachusetts, Stant followed her to Detroit when she was stepped out of the ice after practice at a Cabo Arena and walked behind a nearby curtain in a corridor, Stant struck her on the thigh a few inches above the knee with a baton. Her legs were only bruised, not broken, but the injury forced her to withdraw from one of the national championships. Harding won that event, and both she and Kerrigan were selected for the 1994 Olympic team. Harding finished 8th in the Lillehammer, while Kerrigan, by the fully recovered from the injury, only won the silver medal behind Osakabahui. The attack on Kerrigan and the news of Harding's alleged involvement led to a media frenzy news coverage. Kerrigan appeared on both the cover of Time and Newsweek magazines in 1994. Reporters and TV news crew attended Kerrigan's practices in Portland and camped out in front of Kerrigan's home. CBS assigned newscasters to follow her every movement. On February 1st, 1994, Gilroy accepted the plea bargain in exchange for his testimony against Harding. Gilroy, Stant, Eckert, and the Gateway car driver served time for the prison attack. Eckert was sentenced to 18 months in prison, but was released in the early months of September. Kerrigan recovered quickly from her knee injury and resumed her intensive training. She practiced by doing complete back-to-back double run-throughs until she felt completely confident in her ability to compete under pressure. The fame had acquired from the attack and led her to further professional opportunities. It was reported that she had already signed contracts for $9.5 million before the Olympic competition had began. 7 weeks after the attack, Kerrigan skated what she considered to be one of the best two performances of her life. She won a silver medal in the 1994 Lillehammer Winter Olympics, finishing second to Osakabahui. Kerrigan won the short program but lost a free skate to Bahui in a close and controversial 5-4 decision. The grunge look brought flannel back with a vengeance. Popularized by the grunge music scene based in Seattle, the look usually involved thrift store type items. Outdoor apparel like a flannel shirt paired with a winter hat was the common look. The grunge movement continued to gain momentum in the first half of the 1990s, and its defining item of clothing, for both genders, was the plaid flannel shirt. But it didn't take long for the checkered print to crawl its way back onto other items, including miniskirts, dresses, pants, and sweaters. There was just one rule: reds, browns, blues, and greens rule. Bright colors were an immediate mark of a poser. The Rachel haircut, possibly the most famous hairstyle of the 1990s, was one popularized by Jennifer Aniston in 1994. The cut was named after her character Rachel Green on the hit TV show Friends. Grunge style went beyond flannel everything. The idea was to take a formerly standard item of clothing, like an intact pair of jeans, and give it a grungy makeover. Few celebrities understood this fashion mantra better than Courtney Love, lead singer and guitarist for Hole and wife of Nirvana's Kurt Cobain. Among her most copied fashion statements was the super short baby doll dress, which was most often paired with a pair of black tights and combat boots. Solid colors were Love's trademarks, but floral prints were just as in. While there were plenty of brands of combat boots to choose from in a variety of price ranges, Doc Martens was the first choice of the 1990s fashionistas, with their signature yellow threaded soles being somewhat of a status symbol. High top or low top, black or brown, worn with a girly dress or destroyed jeans, Doc Martens could be paired with any. In music, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, and the Goo Goo Dolls become staples on the radio. Destiny's Child, the Backstreet Boys, and NSYNC rise to the top of the charts and become teen heartthrobs. Eminem releases My Name Is in 1999 and was ranked number 29 on MTV's Best Songs of the 90s, and Q Magazine gave it number 6 out of 101 of the best songs ever in 2000. In 1993, classic movies like The Night Before Christmas, Jurassic Park came to theaters, with Forrest Gump and The Lion King and Pulp Fiction following not far behind in 1994. The first Scream came out in 1996, and every girl's favorite actor, Leonardo DiCaprio, melted hearts in the Titanic in 1997. Popular 90s shows were the classics like Saved by the Bell and Full House, which still rerun now. They became hits in the 90s, where stars were born that are still popular today. In literature, popular series like Harry Potter hit the shelves and still become top sellers. The first book in the Harry Potter series, The Philosopher's Stone, was published in 1997, and the second book, The Chamber of Secrets, was in the U.S. by 1999. The third book, The Goblet of Fire, was published in July 2000. Classic books, still written in English classes today, like Speak and The Giver, were also written when Clinton was in office and will both be movies by the end of 2014. There were a few new art forms in the 90s because of new advancements in technology, but one new art form was called Stuckism, which was coined in 1998 by Charles Thompson in response to a poem read to him several times by Billy Childish. In it, Childish recites that his former girlfriend, Tracy Edmond, had said that she was stuck in his art, poetry, and music. Later that month, Thompson approached Childish with a view to co-found an art group called Stuckism, which Childish agreed to. There were 11 other group members, and the group was originally promoted as painters, but members worked in various other media, including poetry, fiction, performance, photography, film, and music. In August 1999, Childish and Thompson wrote the Stuckist Manifesto, which places great importance on the value of painting as a medium, as well as to use it for communication and the expression of emotion and the experience, as opposed to what Stuckists see as superficially novelist and irony of conceptual art and postmodernism.